Actually, up for a law.
That happened last time. Oh, listen, we're not letting anybody in.
Good.
I learned after that time.
Yeah,
So, all right, Chris, you can hear us okay online? Great.
all right. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the South County Senior Center Board of Oversight to order. And I feel like I don't need to read the guidelines. Everybody just behave yourselves, okay?
They've been updated.
Oh, they've been definitely shortened.
Yep, and extended to 2027.
All right, great. All the members are present. We have primarily discussion items. I don't think we have minutes to approve here at this point.
Nope,
There may be at another meeting, 2 sets of minutes to approve.
there's no more than that, I think, but yeah. definitely.
Multiple sets of minutes. There's first discussion item is the results of the community forum vote, which is not a scientific survey. Okay, let's put
Nope.
that out there first.
Right.
I'll let Jen take the rest of that.
So, as you know, we advertised and hosted 3 community forums. We held one on February 19th at Frontier High School. The second one we hosted was on a Friday Friday morning at Whately Town Hall. Then our third meeting was at the Sunderland Public Library. And I think that one may have actually gotten the most
Oh, the library
participants.
one?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
so let me just find, I want to read this off to you. So we did, while it's not a scientific process that we worked on, we did implement, some safeguards to try to help us with passing it out. We had an attendant at the box, so people were, if they had voted before, we were trying to track, and we made the announcements, please, if you voted in the past, please don't do that again. It was only at the Sunderland event, the community forum, that we had multiple people come back from like the first one with additional questions or similar questions. So what we did was we asked people where they resided, and I have all of the results in the box, like, so people can go through each section. 65 of the people who participated in the forum reside in Deerfield, 23 in Sunderland, and 32 in Whately. The designs, after they were presented, the calculation was Deerfield, 43 votes for Deerfield's design, 69 for Whately's design, 6 were neither, and 2 were either. And I wanted to just show you the feedback that we got, or just some of the comments, because I think that they were pretty important. Let's go back to where Tom sent it to me with the results. Comments from the first event, Deerfield better location, we have that as a throughout because people feel that it's more centrally located. People really liked the Whately site because they felt it would be available sooner than the Deerfield site, and it was less expensive because it was, 1 level versus 2. One thing that I thought was interesting, you didn't want to spend $1 million for the Plumtree site. Plumtree Road is the one in Sunderland that we were aware of, but you want to tear down 2 buildings and build new for 15 million plus. We are a small country community, not a city. How much is the town spending to renovate the 1888 building into new office space? So that was interesting. And some of the neither comments were, keep my taxes down. There was concerns about that. Let's see what else. The outdoor space was another one, with the location in Whately. People really liked that. Cons about Whately were drivability, or walkability, drivability, but as we learned from our previous locations, people drive, not many people walk. Some people do, it's not to say that they don't. Another comment, this is from the February 28th. If we had gone with Sunderland, it would be halfway built by now. Some people, I liked this. Thank you for all your attention, diligence, hard work, and for taking flack. So, I think that's to all of us because we've been getting a lot pushed at us. a finance committee member from Wheatley, and this was broached the other night, and I know this is gonna be a topic of conversation later. Some Wheatley officials are not aware of the 50-25-25 rate, so how our IMA currently works, the intermunicipal agreement for those at home who may not understand and watching later. Being in a wheelchair, they depend on South County Senior Center for socializing, make this happen. The loss of the soccer field before Chris was able to answer the question, determine that we could move the soccer field over, it would be adjusted, but it still would not be like, it would be around their size now, it's not like league numbers or whatever the sizing is.
Yeah.
That's a baseball field, right?
There's
And
and
then they do,
soccer.
Oh,
like,
and
kind of
soccer.
Yeah.
Like on the other
Oh.
season.
Someone posted, again about cost, these costs are astronomical, not clear if I can support this. Some other commentary were, what do you call it? They were talking about, is this gonna happen in my lifetime? That's the biggest feedback that I hear from a lot of people. Will I see this in my lifetime? Someone shared, if Deerfield is to pay 50%, it should be kept here. We didn't, or why didn't we explore buildable sites in Sunderland Center? You talked about a connection to nature, but the designs look like an island in a sea of parking. So, I think people are talking about that. And I'm gonna send this over to the board, but those are pretty much there. Too many limitations with the Deerfield design. Do not like second story / elevator. Deerfield's too small. Moving the ball field is expensive. So some people commenting about what the building would contain so those are like comments that we'll look at when we're getting past the 30,000 view overview down to the lower level. When we're, at this stage, if that passes, and whatnot. So that's any, I don't know what you want
Yeah.
to chat about with that.
I think I'd like more time to read through them and
Yeah.
kind of digest those.
Yep.
But
But those are, but just the results.
they're not surprising,
Yeah,
because I've heard some comments.
Yeah.
And I think at least part of the issue is, if we were to do one of these, I don't know that the cost is gonna be 15 million. I mean, between grants, there's, I don't really know that cost is what's gonna be. But I think as terms of comparing two sites, yeah, the Whately site will be a little bit cheaper than the Deerfield. I think instead of comparing these $15 million price tags to a $1 million price tag for buying the Oxford building, they actually have to look at what our consultants estimated the whole thing would cost, because that would, you would need more parking. And I think, like, when the person said, oh yeah, it looks like an island in the middle of a big parking lot. I mean, that's one of the tensions we have, right? That people will drive and
You gotta have parking.
they
Yes.
gotta have parking, or if it's gonna be remote parking and hiking in, then that will work for some people, but
Right.
and
A lot of seniors.
not for, for young seniors, yes, not wheelchair bound people, I don't imagine. There's one comment that's sticking with me. It was made at a different public meeting, at a Whately public meeting. At someone who, in my opinion, they're well off. I mean, that's the way to put it. They're well off, and they said, well, this would be just a luxury. And that we can't afford luxuries. When I feel like this person can certainly afford luxuries for themselves, but is wary of having the towns take on such a luxury
For the people
who live here, who would not have access to a lot of the things that this person would, whenever they want, have access to. And I maybe I'm being unfair, But I just, that's something that we're going to have to address as we move forward, that this is perceived, it could be perceived by some as some frivolous luxury.
There's a lot of.
When-
For sure.
That's right, and we don't know how realistic the $15 million cost is, and I think there still is lingering out there, as those comments mentioned, this idea that somewhere there's this plot of municipal land that's bare and
Yes.
flat and has sufficient parking,
Waiting for
and
the
just
town to
waiting
build it.
for the town to build something on it.
Right.
Or what, or just, and to the best of our understanding, and this is from not just me looking at a map, it's from our town administrators and the people who really know our towns. They have looked and there isn't an appropriate piece of land where we could, public, sorry, a public, appropriate piece of public land. Okay,
Yeah.
that has been thoroughly searched. I know at one of the one that I was at, the one at Frontier, somebody said, well, what about this parcel, and what about that parcel? And then I think you went and chatted with him right after, and said, oh, well, here's the thing about that
Yeah.
parcel.
That was Jeff Upton,
Oh.
who's shared about a certain parcel and, you know,
And
I remember we
There
looked
were,
at all of
there were
that.
factual, maybe factual inaccuracies, but
Yeah,
there were things that made those not available to
right,
us.
right, exactly. There's a lot of reasons.
There were reasons for those to not be considered, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind people saying, well, why not this land? They don't have to just believe us that we looked into everything. I'm not trying to say that. I think that people should.
If somebody
put in
has an
there,
idea.
Somebody has an idea
Comes up, we
Where-
missed, or everybody missed.
that somehow everybody missed. But I just,
Yeah,
There's a private developer that approached me and said, oh, I'm thinking about doing something in Sunderland and. Boy, we'd love to have the senior center there, and, but you know, that's
if he's
down the
willing,
road, and we're
Yeah.
willing to develop it and rent to us, but there's a lot, you may not, who would know? I mean, that's gonna be a while to figure out too. There's a lot of other opportunities other than these two things that we've looked at, but. If we were gonna,
Yeah.
for the land that we do own,
these are the options.
these are the options that we have, that are in.
I'm curious about what, maybe this senior center funding, what typically happens? I know like other places are doing the same type of thing. Are there 8% grants, 20%, you know, what kind of grants do we normally expect?
so for
There's
that.
all those.
No, so the community development block grant was something I looked into getting done for this year, but because. You know, the feasibility study wasn't going to be complete until after, and you had to get community interest and support and buy-in. So when I submitted for the capital improvement committees. And, you know, based it on the information Julie Chalfant provided, with the potential at the 3% for 15 million. At the, you know, little over $1 million annually for payment, and how it was assessed tax wise to the community members in each of the 3 towns, if they did it based on the current analysis, and then based on if it was split, you know, 3 ways, or, you know, like a third each.
Right.
But then you know, so that's where we looked at. So the community development block grant was like 1.375 million for a regional space.
Right.
You know, so that takes off some funding where we're kept at the 15 million for that. But the Building South County Communities Group is in the process of getting everything underway so they can start fundraising. They're hoping to be at the annual picnic to let people know and start sharing information. And potentially be at town meetings prior to, but right now we're just they're looking at the picnic, and, you know, we're looking at coordinating that with them. So there will be some community fundraising done by a nonprofit group. You know, but as the surrounding towns with libraries are aware, you know, people are going after the same pool of donors.
Yeah,
Here-
nothing.
And here, you know, here we may be different. Well, they've gotten over $1 million,
No,
but
I
looking
know,
at
but
2
now,
million
yeah,
is a
They're
lot.
tapped out at the moment, they're
Um,
not finding, they're getting like $50 gift card.
Yeah, but I think the difference that we have is that we have all 3 towns, you know, so Whately and Sunderland didn't put funding into Tilton Library for that purpose, so, you know, it may be cumbersome for Deerfield. But then it's also, you know, one of the commentaries and the thoughts that I've had, and I'm sure it's gonna be talked about later about, you know, what we decide to do. I think at this point, you know, this is above me, to determine, you know, even moving forward. Even if we were to build a small building that was a half the size, half the money, whatever, the cost maybe, how is that going to be divided amongst the three towns? What's gonna happen? And, you know, I heard from many folks about usage, location, like if it's not in Deerfield, is Whately gonna become the fiduciary because that's our main location? You know, so there's a lot of moving pieces. If it's still in Sunderland or still in Deerfield, when I was at the finance committee meeting for Deerfield, I think it was the finance committee meeting or the CIPC meeting. I don't know. I'm sorry. They're all blending together. I think it was the CIPC committee meeting, you know, because, yes, it was that meeting, where we were talking about, you know, getting on the fiscal 27 list, because there's no way for any of the communities. I know with Whately, we talked about, I didn't have any hard solidified numbers. It's not that there isn't support, it's come back when you have more details, which is perfectly understandable. So I'm thinking at this point, fiscal 27 is when, you know, to make the ask, but when I was presenting when I was watching a presentation by Julie Chalfont for Deerfield, on her spreadsheet indicated, projects prioritized by, correct me, Chris Dunn, do you remember, what is that official committee called, the town building something? I forget, I'm sorry.
Yeah, T-bag, the town
Okay,
building.
hold on, I can't hear you, I gotta turn this one up. Hold on, go ahead.
Yeah, T-bag, the town building advisory committee. Oh, I can't hear you guys.
Now can you hear me?
I can, thank you. Yeah,
Wrong button, sorry. I thought I hit the go down and I went up or muted, so as long as you can hear. So at that meeting, Julie's spreadsheet shared the priority list and they have the senior center listed for 2035. And it was shared that they would like to put us, Deerfield would like to put us in the current town hall that's there. My response to that was number one, why are we waiting 2035? That's, you know, 9 years, where if you check my desk, there was a study done in 2015. So is this every 10 years, we're gonna spend money, whether it's a grant money, town money, on a feasibility study? No, I hear you, but I'm just sharing, you know, where this is.
Kind of getting stuff together to figure out what goes where. I mean, I don't think that study isn't even been. Like, they don't even have all the buildings listed yet, so.
But getting to that, you know, being shared that their intent is to put us into that space. Number one, it's gonna be several years before the 1888 building is finished. Number one, number two, why are we going to put tax dollars into a building to tear it down? Even if it's in 9 years. So those are concerns that I have, you know, and the seniors have. So those are just, you know, things to share.
And I think. My view on this right now is we're going into a really tough time. Just, it's bad out there right now. Just
Yeah, everybody thinks
Yeah.
the recession is coming.
is,
Yes.
exactly, and I, you know, especially our seniors on fixed income, but social security, Medicare. Getting attacked, I'm worried, like what, I don't wanna I would love to do a $15 million building, I'd love to be able to get that passed. I don't know if it could or not. If it can't, what's the alternative? What do we do in the meantime
I'd like to stay with what we have now. Because
in here?
the reason being is that, you know.
You're not really serving your people well. I mean.
I've
you're all
increased my
spread
membership
out.
to
It does-
671
yeah, I get that, but
versus.
to have it in one building, at least, you would have a space. That would at least be. You're not paying rent at,
We'd be paying rent,
No, you would charge us.
we would pay
we
rent.
would see, I don't know about that, but I'm just saying,
But that's,
having a
but
bigger
you're still
space.
talking about it 3 years down the road anyway.
yeah, a couple of years down the road.
But the cost for utilities would be probably 3 times of what we pay for here.
Well, you
keep
can
that
decide what you
space.
wanna do. I mean, I'm only
You
one
know?
member and I'm.
No, I
may be gone from
understand.
here before you know it, so I don't know. All I'm just saying is that I don't wanna let a $15 million project, if it doesn't happen. Go, okay, well, we're not gonna do anything.
Why
So
would
how
we
el-
not do
What
that?
else would we do?
No, we have to keep it.
Right, we have to come up with something in the meantime.
And I'm thinking back to when, the last time Whately went through something like this was with our town hall. We wanted to renovate that. And all the planning and studies said we needed $4 million
Yeah.
to do that. And everybody was like, holy crap, we don't
Right.
wanna put $4 million in that building. Then they came back and they looked at the plan and said, this, let's cut this, and this is what we really, really need and want, and
Yeah,
we now have our town hall.
which is a
And
nice space.
which is a nice space, and it was helpful that we got the Wormels building.
Right.
But in the end, the project costs a lot less than people who do feasibility studies
Right,
would say, because we didn't put in all the parking lots that they thought we should put in. Then we did, there were a lot of things that we
people
did.
share parking.
Yeah, that's right, and this
Yeah.
street and so on.
Yeah.
And the Whately Inn is a great partner there for parking,
Yeah.
so we should figure out something. I think what really gets under people's fingernails in towns outside of Deerfield is when they hear Deerfield town officials saying, we've decided the senior center is going here.
I don't think.
And
anyone's
without
decided. I
okay,
mean, you know what I
but
mean,
this
but
is,
they all have their
I
opinions
understand.
and they say it, and then it takes on this,
exactly,
this feeling of
So
like,
I
this
would-
is what we're gonna do.
Well,
And you're
so-
gonna have to love it or leave it, or, it's not.
so
that.
I would urge anyone listening to this who is an official in the town of Deerfield, and I know you don't do this, but there are other people who may hear this, that it's really, really detrimental
Yeah.
to the whole process if they're saying, we decided this is
Right.
where the senior center's going. And
Yeah.
it's very, I mean, so I feel patronized when
Yeah.
that happens,
So
so,
it's like that with Skims as well, same kind of
Yeah.
thing.
yeah,
It's a bullying, and kind of a, we're gonna do this.
yeah, yeah, so that to me, it would be really
It
helpful
breaks down
if,
partnership.
if people would use their words more carefully,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
that will really, that's
it just turns everyone,
turns everyone off. So,
we'll have to find a solution one way or the other, but we
Yeah.
gotta do it together, because we can't do it
exactly,
alone.
we can't do it alone and we gotta do it together, so we can't,
Right,
we can't do a lot of infighting.
right.
So, what about just the existing space at Four Sandy Lane?
Yeah.
Like, could that be renovated? To have a space that's big enough to do, I don't know, everything but the exercise classes.
Right,
And let the exercise classes be in other places. Could that be something that could happen on a shorter
right,
runway,
right,
so to speak?
right, because we're
I
gonna
mean,
be
yeah,
2 years anyways, but we're in that other building, I think it starts
oh,
this
Yeah,
year. but
and
then by the
construction
time we
projects,
move- Yeah.
notorious for starting and ending on time.
Exactly. There's sewer projects,
Right.
it's even a year longer.
But I just want to reiterate, I appreciate what you said, Joyce, because
Yeah.
I get a lot of seniors who come in here asking questions and they're very upset. Or I've read this article, or I heard this in a, like whatever committee meeting. And I say, well, it hasn't been decided upon, or at least I'm unaware at this point in time, so we're just going through this process.
Right.
But, also, just in general, not just the other two towns, but I also feel like, I'm the department head. No one talks to me about anything unless I go to, unless I'm there advocating at town meetings or budgets or whatever, but
Everybody feels like that, though. Really, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Don't.
no, and I
just
know
show
you
up
feel that
and
way
you-
too.
and you demand, yeah, I mean, you have a good personality for saying, this is what I want, this is what I believe, this is where I'm coming from, and I'm advocating for our seniors. And I'm showing up to do it, and that's what you need to do, because everybody is busy and they're doing their meeting and they're,
Yeah,
they're in their realm of what they know, but they don't know, they're not here, they don't know what we're talking about, and they don't, it's hard to get to every meeting.
I understand.
So,
So,
a lot to decide still, but,
Yeah.
yeah, together.
So, yeah, so I think what I would like as far as action items on this, is I'd like to see more of the comments.
Mm-hmm.
And just think about what could we do that at least improves over what we have,
Right,
even if it doesn't get us all the way to where we want.
yeah,
That could be any kind of interim situation that I know that's very vague.
no, it's.
But hey, go find that plot of land in Sunderland. Okay,
I'll be like,
Yeah, that somebody's just wants to get off
Right.
their own property rolls and,
Yeah. Donate.
yeah. Isn't there some swamp next to the school? We could just.
well, at the Whately budget meeting, is it Julia
Julia,
Julia
yeah,
Wagner?
Julia, yeah.
Asked, briefly mentioned, have we considered potentially where the Whately Elementary School is? Like the right adjacent, because I guess, in that space as well, so. Not in the school, the Whately Elementary School on Long Plain,
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
where it is, but there's like a farm on either side.
I have no idea what's there, but she.
Soccer field right next door that they play, little kids play soccer on, I think, right
Yeah.
there in the park.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah,
maybe
that,
out in back.
yeah.
I have no idea, I haven't never been to the site.
to ask.
by.
I'll have to ask what she was referring to. I don't know that there's enough rural land
Okay.
there, because they do use all of those different fields,
Yeah,
for outdoor activities.
Yeah. Okay.
At the school, so I don't know that there's enough actual land at the school.
Yeah.
But I could see where somebody going by might think, oh, there's some stuff they're not using.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's probably not true. I think they are.
Was there an open spot in the Whately Industrial Park? I feel like there was a lot that was still open, saw it, but.
Oh,
Could be
Is
wrong,
that past the veterinarian eye care place?
maybe,
Maybe,
I feel like it was close by and it was like a seasonal.
yeah, but that would probably not be a piece of public land.
Right.
And that would be zoned commercials. That
Oh,
would be
so we would
expensive.
pay it. Yeah, I see.
I mean, it'd be expensive.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
possible.
That's true.
And so private land, is
Yeah.
private land on the,
Well, there was, Gentleman owns out back here was, had called me once and talked about, hey, just before you settle on anything, just let you know I'm thinking about developing. He's waiting, I think, for a while leasing to go finish up out here. And then would like to redevelop it and,
when you say out here, you're talking about North.
right out
Main.
back, yeah, right out behind,
Senior housing.
where,
yeah, senior housing, Blue Heron and all that whole development where all the trucks and stuff are now, I think is gonna get. He would like to redevelop it and was thinking, maybe if you develop the building, that we could lease, cause nothing's been planned, he could build whatever he wanted.
Uh-huh.
And then put some other entities in there as well. So it was a thought, down the road, but I think at least needs a year or two to finish up.
And then there's
Something to think
the
about.
other idea that I think we haven't pressed on very much is that. That a senior center can be a community center.
Yes,
The seniors are probably not gonna be there so much in the evenings.
Yeah.
Maybe the younger seniors would be,
Mhm.
those are still with
Yeah.
jobs.
reading.
Um,
reading.
It means more staff,
Mhm,
I think,
right,
because, and if you're sharing a facility, you've gotta be tight about, what can happen there, and when there's, if there's children there, then you've gotta, it's not a place where you drop off kids.
Right,
It's
right.
it's a community center where, groups can come and do things.
right,
Yeah,
Right.
we've gotten requests, like, I don't think people realize we're not a big space. People have asked to, oh, we're coming in for this family gathering, could you host it at the senior center? It's
Oh,
like,
I
sorry,
wish we
I wish,
could.
but, here's the church, here's the
Right.
church hall, the Polish club, we do
Yeah.
not
The
have
Whately
space.
Town Hall.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep, so it's, so there are potentials to bring in revenue streams, like
Yeah.
that,
Or even to get broader support,
mhm,
to get broader support for it.
yeah,
The other thing I've heard is that Well, we have lots of facilities. So if we were to focus on facilities that we don't have, others, like early on, we nixed the idea of having an auditorium in there because we do have an auditorium. And for those times you need an auditorium, you go to
Yeah.
Frontier.
Yeah,
And, or if it's a smaller thing, Waiting Town.
Yeah.
As a 100-person, maybe 200-person,
200 capacity.
for that auditorium upstairs. So we concentrate on things that we don't have elsewhere in the community. And I think a space for exercising. Other than, clearing all the chairs at the town hall and.
Right.
We don't really have a good space, a dedicated space for exercising, so that could be. That could be taekwondo classes for kids at night. That
Yeah.
could be, so that kind of expanding it to, a multi-generational facility will make it seem less like, here's a luxury for our seniors.
Right.
That, no, this is a facility that the whole community
Right.
can really use.
Yeah.
And I think that's,
Yeah,
I think that would be, it would be a way to get support. But it can't turn into, like, and strut my kids off.
Yeah.
It can't turn into.
no.
I would also ask
Yeah.
if there's some limitations on access areas, because
Right.
I will
You can
tell
have your
you,
own private
well,
stuff.
Right,
but
you
well,
got
for
it.
staff offices, but there's also been times where we've had shared space at other places where those who utilize it don't clean up after themselves. So, maybe implementing a charging fee if
Yeah.
it's left not in
Yeah,
pristine condition,
sure.
or,
Or
swept
rebate back
condition,
if you,
yeah.
if it's cleaned up, you get, you.
You get a
cut
deposit back or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we have some potential good partners there.
Yeah,
I know, the Tri-Town Beach folks and the various rec commissions in the towns. They would love to be able to offer some programming, I think, in the winter. That might involve an indoor space. If it's a space that's good enough for exercise for older adults, then it could be exercise for younger adults in the evening. Or classes.
Something right next to that, right on the beach.
Oh,
Field.
in that
I
field,
know it's a
Is that
little
swamp,
wet,
though?
but
yeah,
it gets wet, but it's not.
like, well, there is that field there and it is
Right.
owned jointly by, well, it's not owned technically, it's not owned jointly by Deerfield and Whately. It
Right.
is owned by the
Wait,
Tri-Town
Correct,
Beach Commission.
commission, yeah,
And, that there would need to be a purchase there.
yeah.
And that's
a field next door too, right?
There's a, yeah, so,
I always felt like that would be a great spot for like just. It's right next to the Tri-Town, it's, it's used by our community.
I think you'd get really good buy-in, especially if we added the rec department, because I know
Yeah.
Chris Dunn had shared in the past that there is no planned space for the Deerfield Rec Department in the new town hall. They have a
Correct.
floating office availability, so
Mhm.
there's no dedicated space for the senior
Yeah.
center or for the rec
Yeah.
department. And for is there one for the nurse in that building space, the plan? I don't think so.
Think so.
Yeah,
It's
so-
limited.
So we could host all the town nurses, at wherever we go, we could host
Yeah.
the rec departments. Because I know, Jim, Sue and Chris aren't there every day, depending on what they're
All the
doing.
Services could be.
Yeah, in one location.
community Space. And you get more buy-in, I think it's not just. Yeah, you're loading up everything.
Yeah, the only, like I shared, there should be some limitations on access, but I think
Sure.
large open space is fine.
Mhm.
The use of the kitchen is only like if there's like maybe a big event, if somebody does a spaghetti dinner or something, but not a daily thing.
Right,
And the other piece would be, the exercise equipment is specific for older adults, so no
Absolutely,
use
yeah.
of that.
and
And you can lock those doors.
Right,
But the other, like the big space, and you could offer additional dance classes
Mhm.
or, other classes. I know that sometimes, I know Deerfield does Pilates, I don't know if the other two
Some
communities.
dance stuff going on in the old Taekwondo building next to the Holiday Pizza. I noticed, somebody I walked into and they were walking out, they're like, oh, you gotta come join us, we're dancing in here. It's a
Yeah.
nice little, and it's a small little room, but, so there's the need for that, you know, in the community for people to dance and.
Yeah, so you could even offer evening classes, like if you leased it out the space to, I know Dance Northampton is something that comes around the area.
Yeah.
So I, you know, as the director, don't have an issue with that. I think, you know, you'd get more interest and people would understand and know what the senior center does. We could also maybe one night a week extend our hours in the evening for our programming as well as what the you know, the staff or the rec department does. I know they're volunteer with their people, but
History talks and book readings and.
Yeah.
Bird talks, all kinds of stuff you could do at night, right?
yeah, I think it'd be great. Plus, didn't they used to at the 67 North Main Street, you know, like have a space for like the Legion or the VFW.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that went away, so maybe that would have a space for our veteran community as well as like the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts or other, you know, entities like that.
Yeah,
Not that they would have an office there to
Right.
keep their stuff, but
A
you know, a
space
space
to
to
gather.
gather and to have activity. Because I know the 67 North Main Street location used to be utilized for that a lot.
okay.
And I think that's what that's what our community's missing. I mean, don't get me wrong, people are happy to go to the Polish club, but not everyone's a member.
Right,
People are happy to go to churches, but some people don't want to go into a religious space,
sure.
no matter if it's a congregational church or a denominational church.
Yeah.
So I think we would get greater buy-in, from that, and I've never been opposed to that as long as there's, you know, some guidelines and things
Yeah.
of just where people are, because I think a community space is really important, you know. And don't get me wrong, I wish we could fit into the, you know, into spaces that exist, but
Yeah.
we don't. And there, you know, there's a lot of repairs that are needed at
Yeah.
all the existing or renovations or what I should say, so.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure we had an update on what the community forums are. We're gonna continue to host more as we move forward.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you have if you wanna have a meeting with the rec departments, I think that might be a good thing first. And-
Yeah, or
and-
maybe
and-
informally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consensus. Have a gal, I think called Patty, I think her name is.
And we have a.
She's a tri-town beach.
Sue,
Yeah,
yeah, that's great. And Sue, in Pinellas is gonna retire this year.
Oh, is she?
She is, so there'll be a new director and they'll wanna do whatever they wanna do, you know, new thing,
And
so.
Jim is it Jim Ewens?
Yep.
Is the
Right.
Sunderland rec, because I work with him when we wanna do stuff over at the Riverside
Mhm.
Park, and then Chris, I forget Chris's last name for like. the
Yeah, no, I
rest of
can't- I
the
don't remember.
Burley Heath Park.
Yeah.
You know, he's been great to work with, everybody, you know, has been really helpful with that, so I think having shared space is key.
That land is maxed out too, right? I know there's fields and stuff, but there's no additional acreage at Purley Heath, right? There's no,
correct.
okay,
Now-
it's used up with the
Yeah.
fields.
Yeah, that's, there was a strip of land that we were like sort of using by permission of the owner
Yeah.
who passed away sometime in the last year. And we kept offering to buy
Yeah,
that little bit of land, and I think they're somewhere in the middle of trying to negotiate. Could we just buy that now? while
Yeah.
The state has changed hands.
right.
I don't know where that stands, but,
Okay. But
I,
it's not.
it's not like,
another field.
unless you eliminated a field.
Yeah, we didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
I know it's right next to the river too, so it's probably.
actually, it's,
Is it
no,
not?
it is, not in the floodplain.
Oh, it's not?
It's way high up. off the river.
Wow. I didn't
Um,
realize that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
there's,
Still have the 200.
right,
Yeah, the buffer, but.
it's, yeah, but it's just, so it did not flood in 1936.
Really?
That part,
That's amazing.
That's
that
amazing.
part did not, because it's actually up,
One.
which
Okay.
surprised me too.
Yeah, you figured.
But, yeah, because we got the new floodplain maps and that,
Great. All right, well,
yeah. Anyhow,
anyhow,
well, in
Okay.
the interest of,
moving on.
getting important things done.
Yeah,
While Dan is still here for the next
yeah.
15 minutes,
Great.
could we, talk about, somewhere on here, our MOU and some
Yep, that's the
Yeah,
consortium or district discussion.
yeah, E.
And then
could
the
we
last
move to
F and
E?
G are duplicates, so don't.
Can we move to E?
Good reading
So,
here.
yeah, so we have some reading homework here.
Yeah.
I've got it. So I'll give a quick summary and you will correct anything I get wrong.
Great.
Okay?
Let's do it.
Right, we're going now by an MOU, which is,
No, it's an IMA.
IMA, sorry, an IMA. That, and I even wrote it as an MOU in here. It's IMA. That was basically signed off by all three select boards of the town. 2010,
2010.
so it's 15 years old, it's well time to improve that. We had talked a lot about that consortium model, and to me, the main things in the consortium model that we really is a no-brainer to adopt is expanding our board of oversight to include one, I'll say, council of aging member from each town.
Right.
That I think if we, there were like two things in this IMA that I would like to see us change as a first step. And possibly going to a district as a second harder to take step.
Yeah.
But the first steps will actually buy us some credibility for going to the Senate.
Smart.
And in number 4 in our IMA says the Board of Oversight. Each Board of Selectmen from Deerfield, Sunderland, and Whately will appoint one of its members to serve on the Board of Oversight. And then underneath it says Council of Aging. Each town will seek the advice of their respective council on aging with respect to overall direction and programs. But the Council of Aging is only an advisory role and will have no governing authority. I would say we amend that to use the language that we had put in our draft of a consortium agreement to make the Board of Oversight be a board of 6.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have to change anything else in that section, just the first 2
Right.
paragraphs. And then down, I don't know what happened to number 6 because mine goes straight to
I can see
7.
if I can find it. I've got a hard copy over here.
Okay. This one is an electronic copy, so it could be like the 6 got changed to a 7 somewhere in there.
Sure.
But it's the annual budget apportionment of costs.
Right.
And I think at that time, we did not have good data.
Right.
We now have going on
Good data.
5 years of data.
Yeah.
So I would like to reword that one so that the each year's percentage is determined by the previous 5 years of
Rolling
usage
average.
data. And now I have to talk about like, well, there's members and then there's active members and there's usage. So
Right.
maybe I need to sit down with Jen and figure out what is something that's gonna be reasonable and clear cut.
And you're thinking more just, members that use it or members that are a certain age?
Well,
to the
so
community?
we can decide about that. I think the easiest thing would be to use we could use our annual census. We
Right.
do an
Right.
annual census in the
We do,
towns,
we do.
and we could take
Over.
the fraction of people over the age, but 55 is
Is
what
it
we.
55? Yeah,
Um,
probably is.
Well, whoever we're getting the $60 a year for.
The $15 a year is 60 and older, and
60.
that's based on
60.
federal census
Okay.
data. Not annual, or not our town data, so I want you to be
Okay,
aware of that.
okay, but we do have annual town census.
Right.
That our local agreement could say senior 60 and older, you
Yeah.
just. Take the total number of those seniors,
Yeah,
how many are from which town,
right.
and that gets us our fraction. And then the next year,
It changes.
Because it's-
based on the
I mean,
5
those are
years.
numbers that somebody else collects. so
That's
Yeah,
true,
I like
It's
that.
not work for us.
right?
No, or it
true.
doesn't add a heck of a lot to Jen, except for
Right.
calling up, hey, did you have?
What
And-
are you saying?
So it would mean looking up, it would mean talking to the town clerks.
Yeah,
When do you have that census
right,
data available?
yeah.
Would you be
That's available usually until April or May,
April or May?
And it's
Yeah.
not always accurate.
Oh.
Like,
You think it's not as accurate, is there a more accurate?
well, here's the thing, we're getting our Commonwealth funding based on federal 2020 federal data.
Right.
So that's formula fund money.
But that's 10 years at a time.
Yes, so the annual change could be based on that. I know, looking at what Julie Moreno, the director at Shelburne, Asheville, Buckland, West County,
Oh, yeah, I didn't,
and that information here, how they break theirs down, I just want to, you know, I think you should
I
give
haven't read that.
Yeah.
just a quick look here. They did it based on usage
Okay.
percentage, so even though you have, for example, the 59, you know, like we have like 80 members, for example, from one community, I think it's or let's just go with Sunderland, 150 active members. We may have more members, but there's only 150 active members.
I'm defining an active member is.
So say someone comes to, we have duplicated and unduplicated data that we capture in our My Senior Center information.
Mhm.
So I can go in and I can tell you, you know, a particular senior comes to our enhanced fitness class that lives in Deerfield, comes, you know, has come 23 classes, you know, for this time frame or whatever. So we can pull it by that. We can pull reports that are based on fiscal year, calendar year, a month, however, you know,
So
so.
what
it-
counts as,
Yeah.
where's the line between a member
And
Somebody
then
comes
active
along.
and an
10
active
times a
member?
year or.
Oh, no, so on the reports I can pull up, so for example, if Fran only comes to one event a year, she comes to the annual picnic. I would be able to break it down by the town. I can pull the town data
Yeah.
by, because we put Whately people in a Whately group, so that way because of the zip codes.
Mhm.
So we make sure someone in whatever zip codes, but's in the Whately group is this. And then, you know, in this group, so you have to make sure that all of that stuff is accurate, number one, which we've gotten much better. Number two,
Right.
I can pull up and go, okay, this particular town, how many people have come here and this is their activity. So if I have one senior who came one time, you know, just to the annual picnic versus several seniors, you know, who come 6 times a month or 6 times a week, we can break that down.
Right, but you still haven't told me what's the difference between an active member and just a member who's not that active.
What do you mean, what's the difference?
Like, we have members and active members, I assume
Well, all
members,
members encompasses everyone, so they
Uh-huh.
only come once a year.
okay.
But they're still an
Uh-huh.
active member because they came once during a calendar or fiscal year. or
Okay, so you have to
calendar
come once during a
That's it.
A year
calendar
to
year.
be active.
To be
So there are some people who are members, like meaning they have a card, we have their information in our database, but they haven't been here in a year or 2 years or 5 years, but they're still with us in the world because, you know, we check that and even go online. I had Tom and Chris worked on a project where we actually had over 800 people in our registry, but there's only this many people who are active and have been here within this time frame.
But
So,
then, okay, so someone who has been there within the last year
yes,
is an active voter,
yeah,
And this.
like an active voter.
right. So your voters,
60 plus.
yes, for the formula fund, because that's what the state provides for
Right.
that. Here in Deerfield, you know, by law, someone 55 and older, or actually, I think AARP. like,
AARP is
50 and
55.
older, 55 is what they look at, so we've done it 55 and older for active member or for membership, and also anyone with a disability who's under, because they don't have places to go and services and things like that, in our
Well,
area.
yeah, once they graduated from the school.
Yeah, but we typically will get, anybody with a disability who, you know, some people are in their 40s, some people are in their early 50s.
Right.
And some people are, you know, late teens, early 20s who come with their parent or a caregiver to a program we offer. So, you know, we try to be open to people along those lines. You know, we're not hosting 20 different things, having different events here or whatever.
Right, so I guess what I wanted to say was, it sounds like we're kind of all on board with making that kind of change, we could make quickly by amending the IMM. So if I take it on as my homework before our next meeting to reword those 2 sections. So that our funding formula becomes more data-based.
Yeah.
It made it easy though.
All right, I found,
Make it
sorry, I
easier.
pulled up the IMA, I couldn't find it in my pile, so what, where
Yeah.
did you drop off on number, I'll print copies for everyone to take. So we have
Oh,
them,
I'm,
yeah, so number 6, you said it dropped off, So-
oh, no.
the annual budget preparation.
So my,
is number
my number's
5.
got it.
That's okay,
Oh, it's the next one. Oh, yeah, this 6 has gone there as well.
yeah, oh,
Okay.
that is weird, we went from 5 to 7,
Yeah. So the apportionment thing.
yeah, the
So-
annual
So,
budget.
and I, yeah, the other thing, I will correct the numbering so that 6 gets its proper place
That sounds
in
good.
between 5 and
That's
7.
perfect.
So, and yeah, this
Yeah.
was signed on July 9, 2010, or July 7, 2010.
When you're doing your research,
Yeah.
this one here.
I've got it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
perfect. That
So,
seems to be-
so I will,
Look at a couple-
and maybe I'll come up with a couple of
different
options.
options.
Is that
Yeah.
the service usage percentage?
Yeah.
breakdown? Yeah, I felt this was good because I was able to pull a usage chart over the past, or I pulled some data, I didn't put it into a chart yet.
But
But
that,
I
that data
do-
is not that hard for you to pull from.
No, so, did the usage and Google it this way, no, do not go to sleep.
Yeah, what's interesting is they have, right, a number of people over 60, they're all very similar, it's 500, 535, or 615 for Shelburne, but then when you get the usage.
Yep.
That's quite a bit different.
So I pulled the data from 2019 all the way through 24 and for 2024 for usage from Deerfield. We had, so this, the report,
Okay.
so I'm gonna share with you the columns or categories, so like brown bag, community education, et cetera. It's broken
Uh-huh.
down by category. Duplicated means that, and then unduplicated, so that means 25 individuals became 208 times.
Uh-huh.
53 of the
Yeah,
same people. So when we go down to our grand total, we have 246 individuals participated, a total of 8,098 units for Deerfield.
That's, okay, or,
Yeah, for all of these things
Yeah.
here, and that includes volunteer time and, you know, stuff. Then for Sunderland, and now this is based on calendar or fiscal year, excuse me, so for fiscal
Okay.
24. 103 individuals from Sunderland had 4,296 units of activity.
Right.
So, and then Whately, I think it's 36 individuals had 1,650 units of
could
activity.
you send me those two, please?
Yes, I can email this to everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing on that, and I went back, like fiscal 23, you know, Whately only had, I think, 27 or 25, 742. So we've gone up by 11 people, you know, during that fiscal
Right.
year. Sunderland,
Yeah.
you know, went up from 68 folks.
So you've got basically 2 years worth of data there?
Oh, no, I go all the way back to 2019.
Right, the ones that you're showing now.
Yeah,
Okay,
but I have the
You have
reports, I pulled them, like, so looking at, just for example, 2019 fiscal year. Deerfield had 115 people attend 4,689 times.
yeah,
Sunderland
right.
had
You can-
26
Can you
people.
send me all of them?
Yep, oh, I can send
And
everything.
are they all PDFs or?
Yep, They're all PDFs.
Do they, you know, do anything in the spreadsheet so I can like copy and paste numbers?
I can probably do that at a later time, but
Okay,
this
just
is,
send me that.
I saved. And then Whately, looking at 2019, you only had 10 people, 379 times in
Right.
2019.
But those 10 people,
Yep.
each
came
on
379
average, they
people.
did 38 things.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, but it's good to show you, even though there may be a small number of active members, they're attending this many times.
yeah, I think that's, I'm gonna make some graphs out of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy to share all of that.
So it sounds like we don't have anything to vote on here, but let's be
Yeah.
ready. I will get it to you as early as I can, meaning I will send it to Jen and Jen will send it to
In
you.
case
so
you
that we
lost
don't
your
get
other
the
copy.
meeting notes.
Here you go.
good, thank you.
And then the other thing with the consortium or district discussion, I think I've not had enough time to read.
Yeah,
No,
This
I just
one?
wanted you
But
to
we-
look at it.
It sounds to me like this would have a lot of the same advantages of a consortium.
yep.
And it would, but the main thing is it would show up as a separate tax line.
Mhm.
And that might actually be a good thing.
And also in the packet regarding that is the legislation,
Oh,
the
yeah,
act
Yeah,
that
That's
the
what I
state
wanted to read. Yeah, I got
legislators
halfway through.
voted for.
Yeah.
So I just wanted you to know, so that way
Yeah, it's an
we
excellent-
wanted to share, so we didn't have to start from scratch.
Yes,
Um,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then the other thing shows you, like their salary details and their annual budget on this particular, document, so
Yeah.
that way you can
Okay.
look that over as well.
Alrighty,
So-
all right, so at this point, I might pause, for public comment, because we often do that at the beginning, but is there anybody, members of the public who want to make any comments? Not even to pat us on the back and say we're great job. I want to give Jen a pat on the back,
Yeah.
the great job she's
Great
doing.
job.
Thank you.
Patient is the same.
Okay, patient, especially with us.
And
Okay, and everything else looks like it's updates and reminders.
I
That
wanted
could
to
be-
share
Yeah.
these, so these are the letters of support that we've received regarding.
Oh,
So,
what's that?
So I have a bunch, I have some for Whately, we have, and these are kind of prepared letters, but it's basically sharing the information they want to get across. So I have
Yeah.
Catherine McGrail from
Uh-huh.
Whately, Judy Targetta from Whately,
Mm-hmm.
Maxine Young from Deerfield or South Deerfield, Rosemary Charnley from South Deerfield, Linda Rowe from South Deerfield, Barbara Prolit from South Deerfield, Virginia Carperis from South Deerfield, Peter Carperis from South Deerfield, Larry Ashman from Whately, Ron Duda from Whately. They forgot to sign it, but they wrote their
Oh,
names
yeah,
in.
it says
Karen, Karen Duda from Whately,
right. Uh-huh.
Scott, Wern from Sunderland, Rose O'Hagan from Sunderland, Jean, I can't pronounce that, please share. Hello.
Hello, Jessica.
Oh, Jean Pelosi, yeah, okay, from
Okay.
Sunderland. Elizabeth Olanek from Sunderland, and Erica Franks, emailed a letter in November, and I think I forwarded
I
this to
think so.
everyone.
Yeah.
But she lives in, South Deerfield, so, I'm not gonna,
I've
I'm
been
not
getting
gonna
some of
read
those in my
everyone's
basket,
in here,
too.
but I just wanna make sure that people,
Yep.
Great.
do have them, and
Yeah.
I can, send them over, but I also had emailed some over
Yeah,
before.
I've been getting them in my basket.
Oh, good. So I'm not sure who exactly, I may not have copies because
Yeah.
they're sending them directly.
They could, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but I
Okay.
just wanted to acknowledge,
Yes.
their participation, and a lot of people have really been supportive,
Oh, I think I
and,
handed you my minutes and stuff.
oh, this is mine, hold on.
I'll find it.
Yeah, that's your packet. So I don't think I put it in, I think it's in bottom maybe.
So, can I just interrupt real quick, just the, how's the transportation going?
So I wanted to talk about the updates.
Yeah, I know he's got a cruise, but I just wanted to hear that. real quick.
Yes, so on Tuesday afternoons, Chris Goudreau, our outreach coordinator, has been doing transportation with the PPTA.
Yeah,
That encompasses 8 hours, and we basically pay Chris and then we would get reimbursed from the PPTA. We're submitting that because it just started within the past month. It's going well.
is he enjoying it?
He's
At work?
doing okay.
Yeah.
It's not a big busy day. Sometimes he has
Right.
5 people, sometimes he has 2.
Yeah,
But, it's been going okay for him. He doesn't
Okay.
have any complaints.
all right.
He's appreciative of the ability to gain that extra 5 hours, so a total of 40, because 8 hours are from the grant.
Okay.
And I checked in with him to see how he's doing with his other responsibilities and,
I saw him at the brown bag today.
yeah. So he coordinates the brown bag with the volunteers the first Thursday of the month.
Yeah.
Because that way, he can connect with them. Our number of homebound older adults who receive bags, like we've been going through that to see where we're at. And we're steadily around 10 people who do not drive and don't really have access.
Yeah.
So he's still delivering to those individuals. And, so we're trying to make progress to make sure everything's going well.
Yeah,
His outreach has been pretty good with people coming in. He's been helping people with SNAP about, I think this quarter, 3 SNAP applications. Then, for fuel assistance, I think there's been about 5 to 7 people I know for a fact who have gotten support from him for that. So, we're wondering if there's gonna be continued support for this calendar federal fiscal year, because that LIHEAP was just eliminated federally the other day. And then also, just to note, food insecurity wise, the brown bag, Food Bank of Western Mass runs the brown bag program. And they lost, just under $500,000 funding last week. We got an email from Andrew Morehouse and then a newspaper article.
Yeah.
So,
Ultra wealthy are taken from the ultra needy.
yeah,
It's
so.
just embarrassing for this country.
So, I mentioned during the budget meeting in Whately that, you know, in the past, Chief Savine had, done a stuffed a cruiser for around Thanksgiving time for a food drive, so. Given the reduction in opportunities to receive foods or just like an abundant amount of food, we may start trying to do something like that. You know, however, I will say when people sometimes drop things off, most of it has been expired, so. You know, we're trying to get that message out to, if you're gonna make a donation, please
Yeah.
make sure that it's still usable.
Right.
But this food pantry. This food truck, we just got our order in today. So we only really have, we have frozen fish that's gonna be on there and chicken pouches and tuna fish, so.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of protein options this much, other than, you know, like some canned stuff, people sometimes like, sometimes don't, but you know, they do like make use of that.
Yeah, okay,
And for anyone else out there who's a farmer, we would love to take your overage, you know, to
Yeah.
distribute during the year when it's available too.
I better, CISA would know how to. get
Yeah.
into that.
Well, we do get donations weekly from Atlas Farm Store.
yeah.
So depending on what they have, but sometimes, you know, it depends. It all
Yeah.
varies, and that's understandable.
Right, okay,
But in regards to just a grant update, so starting in fiscal 26, because sorry, everything blends. We got approval for that other grant that I went for,
Mhm.
partnering with the PBT that you wrote a letter of support for. That was approved, so we are going to work with them. We will be able to pay Chris for 4 hours of transportation average weekly. So if he gets a person from Whately who needs a med ride to somewhere else, you know, over that invisible barrier boundary line with the RTAs, we'll be able to accommodate that.
okay, good.
So, you know, and we just put in 4 hours a week. We may not even use that much. We may do more. It all depends. Because as we learned with our previous SIG grant through MCOA before, we didn't spend as much as we thought we would use. But we have I think this grant is maybe a total of $9,000 or something
Yeah.
like that. So it's not a huge amount, but the PVTA will also provide us with a used vehicle or used van to do that transportation for those med rides, and we have the opportunity to use it in other services if we need to for programs and stuff like that.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Totally
Okay.
okay.
We'll do.
Check out the events just in case
Yeah, they're on
you wanna go to anything, so
Yeah.
thanks for coming.
Good to see you. Wells Trust.
Wells Trust, I submitted the grant application for, by our deadline of, it had to be postmarked by March 20th. We got that out. We have not received an update on that yet.
Okay.
We did unfortunately receive a denial for our Life Path grant. We were looking to, continue our arts program.
Yeah.
They had suggested that if we opened it up to more people, that they, you know, it could have been a different factor, but
Right,
the issue is that we didn't have more than 10 to 15 people
Right.
interested, so
Okay.
I didn't want to I
right,
didn't want to inflate a number that wasn't accurate.
yeah, that's not fair.
So
Yeah.
we didn't receive it, but that's okay.
Yep.
We're gonna have open hours, just like an open session for those who participated in the painting and the drawing and any other art who just want
It's
to
a
come
really
in.
cool piece
and
of.
sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they did some great work. We had an arts afternoon out on Tuesday,
Uh-huh.
and there was about 15 people who came through
Great,
to see it. We're gonna be posting photos, so it was really nice. We had this set up with some wire or burlap twine.
Yeah.
And we used mini clothespins to hang the art on display, and it was really nice. So the digital literacy grant ended, and I have
Okay.
submitted my final report. That
Right.
is done. That was done
Yeah,
Monday.
Your shoulders are relaxing now.
Little.
in the high,
Hybrid programming grant ended
Yeah.
March 31st. The
Okay.
report is due by April 30th.
all right,
So those big grants have ended.
well, they were really good.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
We
You
were-
got a lot of,
Yeah,
you know.
we got a lot of
iPads and
mileage
stuff
out of
to
that.
People and
Yeah.
knowledge and computer stuff and. Right.
We, you know, it was really great because we had about 34 off the top of my head that I know of. older adults who participated virtually from home on a regular
Yeah.
basis.
That's
So,
right.
you
That's
know,
huge. You're just keeping people
yeah,
involved.
tuned in,
Tuned
and,
in.
and a lot of feedback we got from the seniors was, you know, I can now FaceTime with my
Yeah.
family who
learn how to
doesn't
do
live
it.
locally and,
Right,
and things, so.
yeah, no, it's a huge
Yeah.
accomplishment.
The staff is gonna be doing one training session for people who are snowbirds who did win.
Yeah.
They're not coming back until later this month, so
Yeah.
the staff
Okay.
and I will be holding, you know, a class because we've already utilized all the funding for that
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah.
Important events that I really wanted you both all to know about, April 16th, that was 2 weeks from yesterday. Congressman McGovern's coming to the Whately Town Hall. If
Yeah,
seniors
during the
want
day.
to attend, yeah, it's at 11 AM.
Yeah,
If seniors want to attend, I recommend they get there early because
Very
we're
early.
getting a lot of response from people who are not members. Who, you know, who live in the community. I'm trying to figure out how we can rope off a section specific for our seniors, because that's why we did this. Congressman
So this is
McGovern
you-
is coming
you're
after
sponsoring
me.
this.
Yep. And we have, I have, the Whately PD on board for this to make sure, because, you know, I know in Greenfield, he had over 700 people show up. I mean, we could have, didn't wanna put it at Frontier because it's during the week and it's school day.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
that wasn't feasible.
Yeah.
Thursday, April 24th is our volunteer appreciation luncheon. That is a Thursday afternoon
is that
or morning.
lately?
Yep, Whately in again.
And you said that's the 24th
Yep, it's a Thursday.
at noon or,
11:30, and we're gonna serve lunch at noon.
okay,
So if you get there and you can always stay for lunch or something, or just to say hi, please stop in.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I won't be able to.
I'm sorry,
That's okay. We appreciate the volunteers.
yes, we do.
on, September, June 6th. I've invited Senator Comerford, Rep. Blay, and also I forgot to put on here, Senator Mark, I also invited
Mhm.
to attend. We're hosting that because, you know, people are also interested in talking to their state legislators
Yeah,
to ensure, to see what
Yeah.
they're doing,
yeah,
in regards to the federal funding cuts.
And what time
And
is that?
that's
that
gonna
time
be at
on it?
11 AM.
Okay, that one I might be able to make.
Yeah, it's a Friday.
Wait, right, May?
Uh,
No, June.
June,
okay.
no, June 6th. Yeah,
June
June
and
6th.
then the 18th is the biggie.
And the
Again?
18th, yep, we're doing Hurley Park. I've got that reserved with Chris. And we have our tents and everything rented, so we're good to go.
That's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's the day before Juneteenth,
Oh,
so
okay,
that we
yeah,
get the next day off, which is
Right.
kind of
That's
nice, but-
helpful, yeah, because you get worn out that day.
So we're gonna be reaching out to our community partners, you know, for volunteers and stuff like we usually do. And anybody who's interested in attending, we're gonna keep tickets at $10 again. We've taken into consideration the complaints about live music. So our goal is to create a lovely playlist with a genre of music people like and rent speakers. So that way
Oh, okay.
it's kept at a minimal.
Yeah,
Was it
may have
too loud?
speakers that you can.
Oh,
You could borrow ours too, we have them in, you know, the big ones. in
That would be
town hall.
wonderful, because
Yeah,
we would
yeah.
put those under the pavilion.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that'll work.
But people,
Plug in.
like, there's a handful of people every year who complain they can't hear each other talk because
Yeah, that
some,
makes sense.
you know, some have,
Somehow get,
Yeah.
keep the noise in one place and
Yeah.
have it, some places are quiet.
It's hard.
Harmony.
HERLIHY. You know, some Irish names up here,
Yeah.
usually
I'm
have
putting this on my calendar as we go.
great.
And that picnic is what, 11
Um,
to 3 or
probably
something?
11, it's usually 11 to 2
11 to
or
2,
so. People get there to socialize, we serve lunch around 12 or so, and go from there, you know, we're, our theme hasn't been announced yet, but we'll be sharing that with you soon. We know what we're doing, but we're not sharing it yet.
Yeah, okay, that's, no need to spill the beans, because you know me, y'all. Yeah.
When the newsletter comes out, it'll be in there,
There
so,
we go.
'cause it'll be the May, June newsletter, so. And then August 20th is our tentative date for the informational fair and cruise night. We have August 27th as a rain date, so
Okay.
those are both on Wednesdays.
Right.
Last year, we got the advice from the police departments that we needed to go to a bigger space because of the cars. We had probably over 200 attempts.
How did you do it?
We did it at Hurley Park.
Oh, and they want somewhere bigger?
We had 49 cars for our cruise night section, and we had probably
Great.
over 200 people go through.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where were they thinking that? Where was the
The
bigger place?
Sunderland Elementary School possibly, like they've done their,
Yeah,
police nights there, but.
Tom's says cruise night all the time.
I know, they do.
Well,
Because
that,
they got a long.
we get
strip
people
of
from
land.
Tom's that come, but,
Yeah,
you know, so, but we weren't sure if that would work out to have everything there.
Yeah.
Cause you need parking
right.
for the people, 'cause
Yeah.
we were parking people on the street and then
Right.
people were in the
Well,
parking lot.
if your car is gonna be in the cruise, you're parking there.
But there were 49 cars in the cruise in addition to all the people parked
Hmm,
other
Yeah,
places,
all right,
so.
so planning can be there.
So we're debating,
Yeah.
Yeah,
um,
well, take a look at Tom's. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they would welcome you.
so right now, those are the big dates, the big stuff. I just wanna thank, I wanna give a shout out to Tom and Chris for handling everything
Yeah.
while I was away. Thank you. You know, they allowed me to just have to work from home instead of having to come into the office.
Yeah.
It was helpful.
Good to have a good staff. Yep.
And the seniors, you know, no complaint, not many complaints, maybe one or two about certain things, but you know, nothing we can't overcome. So
Yeah.
they did a fabulous job.
Great.
So. I don't know if there's anything
Motion to
else. to talk about.
adjourn.
I'll second that.
Do we need a next meeting?
Let's do that by email,
No.
because we want Dan.
Just pick that.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
happy to coordinate that.
Yep.
I'll do the
Okay.
doodle polls, send them
Perfect.
out. You guys can reply and we'll. look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, and aim for something like a month out.
And are we open, like what days, what day, because I know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are usually other town. or
This Thursday.
meetings. Thursdays
works for
are
me, But if
okay.
you're pretty
Thurs-
busy,
Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
can't get here till 6.
that's
That-
fine.
that's
I'm
okay.
So
fine
just,
with it.
and
Yeah.
it'll be walking in the door
Yeah.
at,
6:10.
5:59.
But
That's
I
fine.
think for some people, this is better than a
Yeah.
Saturday.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, for
so
sure.
Especially
Yeah,
getting the
With the nice
sports.
weather
season.
coming and you want to be up doing stuff.
And,
Yeah.
and, Whately Select Board's moving to Wednesdays,
Okay.
starting April.
Okay, so that
So-
leaves Tuesdays.
And
a
Tuesdays may
possibility.
be possible as
Sure,
well.
yeah.
I don't remember, are you guys Wednesday?
We're Wednesday.
Dan's Monday.
Monday,
Monday.
they're Mondays.
Yeah, so Tuesdays may be, well, my Tuesdays are opening up anyway.
Great.
All right, I'll stop recording. Thank